So, hi, my name is Zach Vickery. I'm the College Archivist Librarian here at SUNY Oswego. Today, I'm taking the opportunity to discuss the SUNY Oswego Open Access Policy and how faculty, staff, and students can use SOAR to support open access to their scholarly and creative work. In this session, I plan to introduce the SOAR Library Guide, provide a brief overview of the SUNY Oswego Open Access Policy, demonstrate SOAR, go over some frequently asked questions, and review the submission form. So let's begin. I'm going to start sharing my screen, and hopefully everyone should see up on the screen now something that says SOAR, SUNY Open Access Repository. So there are a couple of ways in which you can access this guide, a couple different points and whatnot. First off, you can always type in the URL for it, which is libraryguides.oswego.edu/SOAR. It's quite a mouthful, and sometimes you don't remember exactly everything goes in. So there are a couple other ways to locate this. So for example, if you are on the SUNY Oswego website, and even if you just type in either SOAR or open access repository, the first couple of results are going to be directed to this guide, just like that. Another way that you can access this, if you are on the library website, so we can go to the little person and we can click on library. This area here, resources by subject on our homepage, this is where you'll find all of our library guides. And under faculty guides, we have space for it here for SOAR. So you can kind of either search for it on the website, you can go through the library website, or you can type in the URL for it. So now we know where to find this guide. Let's go over some parts of it, and it might help to answer some questions. So first of all, when you get to this page, the very first thing that's there really is the open access policy and some information about it. So what this was a policy approved by SUNY Oswego Faculty Assembly and President Stanley in November 2019. And basically the main thing to highlight here, especially for today, is that this policy allows SUNY Oswego authors to maintain legal control over their scholarly articles while making their work freely and widely available to the public. It's basically just sort of creating the space and the support from the school to for authors to get their work out there, in an open access way. There is a link at the bottom for anyone to review the open access policy, and I'll, if you'd like, feel free to look at it any time, just kind of see what it is. It is up for review, I believe this year, sometime after November. So it may be something discussed later on, not today, but throughout the year. Next, this tab for what is SOAR. So SOAR is the open access repository that was created by SUNY. It is centrally managed. It's an online digital repository that stores, indexes, and makes available scholarly and creative works of SUNY faculty, students, and staff across SUNY campuses. SUNY Oswego uses SOAR as an option for authors to make such work available to the public. SOAR is built on the DSpace platform and maintained by SUNY. SUNY Oswego is one of 13 SUNY schools plus SUNY Press that have set up their space within SOAR and designated it as their institutional repository for scholarly work. So there is a link here to access SOAR. You can also type in soar.suny.edu into a web browser, and it should direct you to that site. And I'll go ahead and click on it here so you can see what this is, and we'll kind of briefly talk about some of the parts. So this is the main landing page for SOAR. And you can see here that on the left side are all of the different campus communities that have created their space within SOAR, and SUNY Oswego is one of them. You'll find that there's areas to search and browse. You'll see an area for recently added works, and they're constantly being added by all the different SUNY schools that are a part of this. This is comparable to Digital Commons. So if you've worked at or been a part of an institution that's used digital commons for scholarly work or just in general, like some way to get documents out to people, this is set up in a very similar way. Entries in SOAR are searchable and they do come up in Google Scholar. So when something is added in, it's done in a way so that it's indexed and then can be found through Google, and then it'll pop up in Google Scholar as something as well. And then so SOAR also does supply some metrics, including total visits and downloads for each record in the institution. As an example, I'm going to pull up, I'm going to click on our Oswego area, and we see that we have this faculty and staff scholarly and creative activity section. I'm going to click on one of the items. This one here is an article that Damian Schofield was one of the authors on. And you can see it's structured in a way where it'll provide the abstracts, preferred citation. We can add in, the DOI and other information that would go along with this. And then down here at the bottom is some display statistics. And here is where an author or anyone else really could find out some information about this particular item. So for example, the record itself has been visited 89 times. The file has been downloaded 50 times since it was first deposited. And there's a little map down here at the bottom, just kind of showing where people have accessed this from. And even they do give some information about, the cities in which it's being, where people have come from to look at it. Okay, so now that we kind of know a little bit more about SOAR and about the open access policy, let's say that now you want to contribute your work, your scholarly, your creative activity to SOAR and want to get started. We do have an FAQ section here you can click on, and it will provide some questions that I will recommend to just at least be aware of before submitting your work, especially for the first time. Couple of things to highlight here. Number one is this section for Creative Commons licenses. And this is important. You will be asked in the form if you'd like to attach a Creative Commons license and what type of Creative Commons license that you would like to attach to it. This little section here just kind of talks about each license. You can see that there's quite a bit. There's also a link to the creativecommons.org website. So if you want to learn more. Also, there is this section here for open access and publisher status. This links primarily to a tool called Sherpa Romeo. And Sherpa Romeo is really a wonderful way. It's an online resource that aggregates and presents publisher and journal open access policies from around the world. You can use this to determine what version of a published article can be submitted and then used in an institutional repository. So for example, I'm going to use communication monographs as this example. And in the search box, you can type in the journal title and hit enter or search, and it'll bring you to the Sherpa Romeo site here. And it provides some information about the publisher, not only the title of the journal, but also who the publishers are and the URL for the publisher. But also what I'm looking at and what you may want to look at as well is the publisher policy information. They pretty much break it down into three ways, whether it's the published version, the one that actually occurs in the journal itself, your accepted version or post-print, or the submitted version or the preprint version. Each one has their own sort of stipulations about what can go and be used in institutional repository, what conditions that there are with it. So for example, with this one, if I had something published in Comm Monographs, I see that I could put a published version in, but there is a fee for that. And that's probably something that I'd have to negotiate before it was published. So we may not look to actually enter in that published version. However, a post-print or accepted version, there is a pathway or a way to add in the post-print version into the institutional repository. And then there are some additional stipulations about like an embargo, about how long you have to wait until it's available. What sort of Creative Commons license is required to be in there? Any other sort of conditions as well that a publisher puts on it. So this is a helpful tool as well to be aware of just before you get to actually submitting your work. And then finally, just to kind of know what goes actually into SOAR. So primarily open access scholarly articles authored by SUNY Oswego faculty and professional staff, which are typically published in peer-reviewed journals and conference proceedings. That's really what the open access policy focuses on. But SOAR also is really set up to accept and distribute creative works completed by SUNY Oswego faculty and professional staff, and student theses and culminating works completed at SUNY Oswego. So basically, SOAR can accommodate more than just scholarly articles. And that's something that you may want to consider as well. Now, let's say that you've made the decision that you want to contribute, you want to put your work out there for researchers across the world to be able to find, and in an open access way, no barriers, no restrictions, no paywalls, nothing else like that. To submit this into SOAR, what we have set up is a submission form. And I won't go through everything that's on the form, but I will point out a couple of things to be aware of. Number one, not every field is required, but the ones that are required have this designation that'll say required next to it. Something does have to go in that field no matter what. Next, kind of scrolling down a little bit, in this import source, if you know that the submission that you want to make is found in either PubMed or Crossref, you can choose one of those two, and that just helps us to locate more information about that scholarly work, and then fill out the form in SOAR. If not, it's totally okay. This is not a required field. You can choose unsure or just leave this under make a selection, and that's fine. Next, scrolling down just a little bit further, when we get to type or genre, I expect that the majority of the submissions are going to use this one here under article review. But other choices, as you see, like book or book chapter, there's a monograph, thesis, there's lots of musical score, there's lots of other things that can be accepted into SOAR. So something to be aware of as well. And this just helps us to know what sort of thing is that you're sending to us. As we scroll down a little further, there's another required field for submitted version. Something to know about this is that you will be able to select whether this is a manuscript under review as a preprint, an accepted version post-print, or the publisher's record or the version of record. Whatever you select, we're going to review anyway, just to make sure that that's the one that we can actually put into SOAR and do that. But we would like to know, what is it that you're submitting as well. Going down a little further in the subject keywords area, this is a place where you have the option to attach any additional subject keywords that you choose. Library staff may add more subject keywords based on keywords found in online databases, but if there's something else that you'd like to really see as being something that people should be aware of as a subject keyword that someone could click on, add that in as well, and we will attach that to the record. Okay, so as we move down the form a little bit more, under item submission is the area where you can drag and drop, or if you click on this field here, the little window pops up to find your file, but you can add in your file. The embargo until a specific date, you can leave this blank, but sometimes the publisher requires an embargo on a piece, or you may decide to have an embargo for personal reasons, whether it's for research purposes, whether it's for patent rights. You can add that in, and then we'll just follow up with you to make sure that we know if a reason for an embargo. As we move down to the license your work, like we talked about earlier with the Creative Commons license, this is where you will be required to choose which one that you're talking about, whether you want to put this in the public domain, or if you want to attach a Creative Commons license or no Creative Commons license at all. I recommend selecting Creative Commons and then using, there's two places where you'll either say yes or no. And this will allow us to make that section, attach that Creative Commons license in the record itself in SOAR. And then finally, we get down to the distribution license, and this is important as well. This is the last step, and that basically what you're doing is granting a license of non-exclusive distribution license that allows Student Oswego to reproduce, translate, and or distribute your submission worldwide in print, in electronic format, and in any medium. Without this grant of distribution, we would not be able to put this into SOAR for other people to view, to access. So this is an important part of this as well. I also made sure that this was large print versus smaller print, that tiny print that you can't see, and we're not trying to hide anything. So you can feel free to read through this. It still gives you all of the right to be able to remove something from SOAR at any time, to make request any changes be made in SOAR at any time to your work, and that you still are the copyright owner, and that you control how and where the work is put and distributed throughout the internet. When you scroll down to the bottom, there will be the acknowledgement of this grant. You will check that. If you don't check this, you won't be able to submit the form. So just be aware of that. And then when you click on submit, what actually happens is this is not automatically entered into SOAR. We receive the form plus the file, we review it, and then if we have any questions, we'll follow up with you, and then we will basically just copy paste everything and put it into SOAR. This is called a mediated deposit, and we're essentially handling all that stuff for you, so you don't have to create an account for SOAR and then manage it that way. But if there is something, like I said, that you'd like to change, just contact Archives and Special Collections, and we can make that change for you. So that is the guide and the form and some information about participating in open access. And so I'm just going to leave kind of this up. If anyone has any questions, I can share this as well. But essentially, there's just those links for the main points that I talked about today. And do you want to leave any time for questions? Or if you want me to demonstrate anything else, just let me know. And thank you very much for attending today.
Zach, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you tell us how much faculty have had undergraduates submit their work to SOAR?
Sure. So as it was set up for SOAR, we have not had any faculty submit undergraduate work. And as we initially were using SOAR, it was just set up to meet the open access policy for the school, which only specifically dealt with faculty and professional staff. But this is also the place where any sort of graduate theses, or I would hope as well undergraduate honors theses as well, would also go in here. But since there's no requirement for that, we can't kind of force anyone to do this. I'd like to see it. And in a way, if there is work that students would like to add in, I would highly encourage that. And faculty can work alongside the students to understand and navigate the process. Or they can obviously as well contact Archives and Special Collections to work through that all. Yeah, you know, I would really like to see more added in. Other schools and other institutions have areas, sub collections for student works, and it's something that we can do. We just haven't had the anyone ask about it yet. How about that?
Thank you.
And Candace, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so sort of along the same lines there, I'm teaching independent study for a student who's, you know, the culmination is significant paper. And I'm trying to come up with ideas of what she can do with this body of work. She's fairly shy, so I don't think getting her to go to a conference is a good idea. So I was thinking, would this be somewhere she could bring her work to, or that I could bring her work to it?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that to have the especially for the granting of the distribution license purposes, definitely have the student themselves fill out the form. But you can work, like I said, alongside with them. And then again, what this does is it does provide a way where that work is then it's in SOAR and also found through Google and through Google Scholar, and also has a permanent handle for this. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen just a second so I can pull this up. And I do want to leave a little bit of time for everyone else for the next session, but in SOAR, start sharing my screen again. What I do like is, I'll go back to Damien's work, or no, I'll choose Toby Malone's work. This was something he had put in, I think, a newsletter. And so there is a stable URI that a person could use if they want to include it into their CV or their resume. If they wanted to create a website and have like a links to their articles, their scholarly work, their creative work, this is all here. So yeah, I would highly recommend that if that's something, if there's a want or need for it. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I have another question. I hope I'll be really quick. Sorry. So one of my classes is creating data sets from, parts of the local cemeteries around here. Can we post that data set here? Like, would that be worthwhile?
Data sets can definitely be added into SOAR.
Okay.
My understanding is that there is no repository for data sets on the CBS. Like, there's no designated repository for data sets, but SOAR can be used in that way as well. So if you wanted to leave it for other researchers to be able, or just for students to essentially be able to find these, yes, data sets can be added in as well.
Okay.
And you can reach out to me and we can set it up and maybe even create just like a little separate section in SOAR for everyone about this. So.
Perfect. That's awesome.
So I have a quick follow-up as well. I noticed that one of the genres was a working document. So can you tell me a little bit about what qualifies as a working document?
Yeah, so because this is set up, SOAR is kind of built on DSpace, or it's built on DSpace, which allows for more than just like open access repository functionality. The working document section could be a place where an individual, if I was, if I wanted to have different versions of something that I was working on, and I wanted to make sure that it was in a secure place, like beyond my computer or beyond my Google Drive, it is set up so you could have it so that you keep different versions of things in there. And what you're doing is you're I gotta think about this. It's letting the users of SOAR know that this is not like a final version of something. It's not a published version of something. This is just a working document. But it allows you to basically have like versioning of things if you wanted to set that up in SOAR. You could as well also set up so that there would be an embargo on this. I think that this is more of a holdover from what was before, I don't want to say before SOAR, but SOAR is kind of built congruently to the SUNY DSpace, which was created a very long time ago and still used, but it has that same functionality. So with working documents, yeah, you could create an account in SOAR and then add in working documents on your own and just kind of keep that as like another sort of safe place for your research or creative work or something like that.
Do people in that case submit that same kind of form every time they update it?
Right. If that's something that someone's interested in, we can actually, what I would do is direct them to create their own account in SOAR. Yeah, and then you can use that space. We could set it up under SUNY Oswego, and then you would kind of have your own space for all of that. Yeah.
I should follow up with you about that. And I
Sure.
have another final question. Can you
Yeah.
tell me a little bit? It sounds like mediated deposit is not the same as peer review, right?
Oh, no.
But it would be it would be important for me to hear what is entailed in a like on your side. What's that review process?
Right. So with mediated deposit, instead of the author being responsible for the deposit itself, there's a representative, a manager from the university that does that. There's upsides and downsides to each, and the reason why that we're going with mediated deposit is that it kind of allows us to not only review everything to make sure that it meets specific publisher qualifications and that we're not getting a takedown notice for whatever is in there. But also, it seems to be a little bit simpler than saying to faculty to say, or anyone else, professional staff, students, whoever, to say, well, the first step is you need to make an account here. And that's just one more account that needs to be made. And one more thing that you have
It's
to
a
remember.
management system.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
This is purely a management system in that way. And the mediated deposit just allows us to further manage that.
Okay, we do have to end the session